Hello Philosophy 101 Religions of the World. I am Nicole Beggs and I am in the same online class as y'all. Right now I am living in Southeast Asia and currently I'm on spring break in Nepal, and I just got to spend the last week trekking through the Himalayas, which was an absolute dream. It was gorgeous. And I got to see a lot of really old monasteries, stupas, temples, idols, all the things that we just learned about in our Hinduism and Buddhism unit, because those are the main religions here, and they've kind of intertwined here, which is very unique and it's really cool to see. Now I'm currently back in the city of Kathmandu, and so tomorrow I'm going to be taking this video camera with me, taking y'all with me in my class, which is kind of fun. And I am going to be going around to several different holy sites throughout the city, and I'm going to be doing video blogs so that you guys can see what it's like to live in a city where Hinduism and Buddhism is really, it's the only religions here pretty much. It's really active. Hi, so I'm Nicole Beggs and I am here in Bodhinath, Nepal at the world's biggest stupa. It's called the Bodhinath Stupa, and behind me you can see the big eyes of Buddha on top. Those are a very common symbol in Buddhism. And here we have the deer and like the circle of life thing, because it's all very circular. We're not entirely sure what the deer are about, but we think it might be from where Buddha gave his first preaching and teaching in a deer park. What's cool about this stupa is it was built here because there was a king who lived here with his kingdom, and he was like, it's not raining, I need rain for my people. So he went and he was like, we have to sacrifice the wisest person in all of our kingdom. And after they did that, it didn't work, it still didn't rain. So the king decided that him and his sons were the only people that were wise enough to be sacrificed. So he had his head chopped off, and while his head was still rolling around, he got to talk to a goddess who told him to let a cock fly, to like let a chicken go, and wherever it landed, that's where they had to build a stupa. So it's said that the very center of that stupa is built where the chicken landed. And what's cool is if you come over and you look over the edge, you can see the way that the stupa is built in the center of what's called a mandala. It's like a big square or circular shape, which is really significant in Buddhism and in Hinduism. And if you look down, you can see people doing what is called circumambulating, where they walk around in a clockwise motion and they're twisting prayer wheels. Because in Christianity, like, you can say a prayer, or in other religions you can just say a prayer yourself, but in Buddhism it's really cool because you can actually turn a prayer wheel, and while you say a prayer yourself, there are a bunch of scriptures written on the inside of this prayer, and as it turns, it's like you're saying lots and lots of prayers, and the bigger the prayer wheel is, the more prayers you're saying. So then it gains you merit, which offsets bad karma that you have for living. Another thing that gains you merit and offsets your karma is you can see all these flags that are hanging here. These are Buddhist prayer flags, and they have scriptures and prayers written on them, and as they blow in the wind, not only does it gain merit for the person who hung them, but also for whoever has like the wind blow on them or something like that. So now we're going to go down, get a different shot of the stupa and see some other artwork. It's really cool. Okay, so here I am with the Buddhist wheel of life, because the most important thing you can do is become enlightened and become a Buddha. This is like the wheel of life held by a really scary, creepy looking guy, because life is suffering. And as you can see, like, Buddha is outside over there because he has become enlightened. So he has broken the cycle of life. These are all the different parts, and it's just very interesting how this is all just right here. So here I am at one of the biggest prayer wheels that I've ever seen, like I was talking about before. Whenever you spin it, it actually says lots of prayers for you to gain you merit or to offset your karma. So this is just really interesting because it's really giant. Okay, so we are actually standing on the stupa right now in front of it, and it's really cool because you can see these are all just different symbols of Buddha and different idols and stuff. You can see where people have offered dye or flowers or rice as an offering to the Buddha, and also they have big bells everywhere that you can read. These are just significant. There's so many significances, but bells are a symbol of compassion. So maybe that's what these are all about. It's just really cool. You can see the prayer wheels over here. These are smaller ones where people can do what I said earlier. It's called circumambulating, where you go around in a clockwise motion. Everything is very circular, which is interesting. There's another giant prayer wheel over here you can see. So we're here at a Buddhist stupa, but here we have Ganesh, who is a Hindu idol. So here's a good example of how the two religions have kind of intertwined here. He's the son of Shiva, and you have an offering of incense and dye, rice, different things that people have offered. They've come and tied locks here and just offered various things to this idol here, and it's just interesting because it's where Hinduism and Buddhism have kind of come together. So one thing that sets this giant stupa apart not only is the fact that it's a protecting stupa, it's wish giving and all of that, but also if you look over here at the smaller one, which has offerings of water all around it, it has 5 shrines that point north, south, east, west, and then one in the very center. Those are the 5 shrines that normally surround a stupa, but if you look at this big one in here, it actually does not have those 5. That's one thing that sets this apart, which is really interesting because it is one of the 2 most holy sites in all of Buddhism. So it's missing that kind of like characteristic that normally they have. But you can see all the offerings of water over here that people have brought, all the prayer flags, and different people have made serious pilgrimages to this site. It's very interesting to be here. So one of the most important parts about Buddhism is that you have to earn your merit. Here, this is a very big site for pilgrimage, so often people will come and they'll do what is called prostration, where these, if you look down, you can see the prostration boards where people will come, they'll read scripture, and they will do this thing where they go like this. They go here, here, and here. It represents the 3 jewels of Buddhism, which is the Buddha, the Sangha, and the Dharma. And it's the process, basically. A lot of times monks will trek, or like they'll come on a pilgrimage, and they'll actually do this while they walk. And then they will go down. And they just sit out here. Often it's for healing or just for gaining merit. Somehow it's really almost a little bit sad that you have to work so hard to gain your merit in life, because you gain bad karma simply by existing, by being a person. So if we look, you can see the monks who are doing this. One is reading scripture, and then in the background you can see one is actually doing the prostration, and another woman has just arrived to do this as well.
You also find that in Islam, don't you?
Yeah.
Doing puja.
Puja? What is puja? Like, what
Puja
do you do?
means what for our praying to God.
Praying?
No.
Do you gain merit by doing that?
Yes.
Okay. That's good. Have you ever been on a pilgrimage? Pilgrimage? Have you ever gone?
Yes. Sarnath was there. What I've been there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you. So we have left the stupa now. We're still in the area called Little Tibet, and we have come to a monastery called the White Monastery now. My friend Ray took some classes here about Buddhism and stuff, and so it's just really interesting to be here. This is what a wealthy monastery would look like, and it's interesting because most of the monks here take their courses in Tibetan and not in English. Otherwise I would interview another one, but I don't think they'd understand me. So now we have come to a shop where they actually make the prayer flags that you can hang for merit. Here's where they print them, the different prayers, arrange and stitch. This is where the stencils or the prints for all the different prayers and all hang. See, with the sewing machine and a cup of tea. So now we are at a Hindu temple. We've left the Buddhist stupa and we've come to a Hindu temple. And here up top, the blue guy, you can see Shiva with his trident, his Shiva trident. And on the ground beside him, you see the male and female Shiva lingas, the symbols. Down here we have Ganesh, his son, and then another deity over here. If you look at the lion type monument statue thingies right there, you can see where people have offered dye and various other things. And then another interesting thing is if you look over here at these doors, you see the eyes. These eyes are often also seen in hieroglyphics, and they're similar to the Buddha eyes that you see on a lot of the stupas. So this is interesting because that's another point where the religions kind of seem to come together. We're going to walk up now to a cremation area and another area where we can see down inside this temple. Because we are not Hindu, we're not allowed to enter. So to be respectful, we're going to go up some stairs to a cremation area and to another area where we can see down inside. So here we are at a Hindu temple. It's very different. There is definitely a feeling of death here because this is where people bring their people to die. There is an eldest son down here. He's dressed in white. He has shaved his head and he's doing a ritual 7 days preparing for the cremation of one of his parents. if you look over, there's a body here that has been covered with red dye and orange. This is the Bagmati River, which is similar to the Ganges, where they bring dead people, they let their feet touch the water, and then they are cremated. Over there you can see cremation fires. Those are people who are actually being cremated. We might walk over and get a closer shot, and what's interesting is children actually come and swim in this river. It's really gross. You can see monkeys are playing in it down there. It's really interesting, all the different type of stuff that's going on here. There's definitely a very heavy feeling of death here, because there are in fact people who have died. It's completely different from the Buddhist. Okay, so we're still here at the Hindu temple, and behind me you can see the cremation fires and how the ashes are blowing down into the Bagmati River. If you turn around, there's a bunch of different just temples, stuff. You can see the scenery. All the architecture is really amazing, and a lot of the symbols that you'll see here are similar to the ones that we saw at the stupa, like the bells for compassion and different things. Here it's different because the stupa was much more a symbol of the circle of life, how it all works, how you need to reach enlightenment, and here there's just more a feeling of death. So it's just interesting, the contrast is there, very similar as well. So here we are still at the Hindu temple. Behind me there is a Shiva linga, which is a rock or stone. It is a part of Shiva, and if you look through, all of these cave type areas have been aligned perfectly. It's really cool, the architecture here. If you look over here, there's a holy man sleeping who has made a pilgrimage. And so this is what the experience has been like here at the Hindu temple. It's much more depressing than the Buddhist one. And what's interesting is a lot of times holy men or people on pilgrimages to here will come and they'll stay in these cave type areas. They have different deity idols around here, and it's just been a very interesting journey, so I hope you all enjoyed.